Hey dudes, Khraze here, back into Marvel's Avengers, and today let's talk about the named legendaries and gear sets that you might want to get in this game, especially so if you're trying to maximize your character and get the best builds possible, since many of these items are actually some of the best in the game and they also have some of the best perks that you might want to hunt for. So in this video I'm gonna cover everything you need to know about these as well as where you can find them, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. Anyway, let's begin with a few things that you should know about these gear sets. They're basically made out of items with unique kinds of names that you usually only find for the items in that set. So this is going to be different on the item card compared to regular items, even of legendary quality. So most of the usual legendary quality item in the game and anything below it is going to have a name composed out of its first perk followed by what that item actually is. So let's take for example this Adept buff grip, which is basically a grip item with the Adept buff perk as its first perk. For the named legendaries that are part of gear sets, that's going to actually be different, and you will oftentimes spot them with different kinds of names, like for example of the Thunderer, Storm Ragers, Red Room, Super Soldier, and so on and so forth. In fact, all of the characters in the game have several of these gear sets each that drop from different locations. These include completing vaults, villain sectors, priority missions, even hives, including the ones that are elite and above quality. But now you might be thinking, well, what's even the difference between a regular old legendary and one that is named and part of a gear set? Especially so since gear set bonuses don't really exist in Marvel's Avengers like in other MMOs and online games out there, as in you don't get any additional benefit on top of the ones already listed on the item cards themselves. Well, this doesn't mean that there aren't any benefits at all. There are actually quite a few that I'm gonna mention right now. First of all, they can provide somewhat better stats than regular gear, but mostly it boils down to these unique perks and unique perk combinations that you usually don't get on the regular legendaries. The most obvious is the fact that this is one of the only few times you actually get two types of status elemental effects on the same piece of gear, which usually means that it's much easier for you to stack a lot of status effects and even combine different positive and negative ones so that your build is that much more powerful. I've explained this in a previous video, so I'm gonna put a link down to that, but you can also see that in the links in the description box down below. The other one is the fact that there's other additional perks that usually only drops on stuff that is named, so especially the Tekken related buffs like the ones over here with the Surge buff usually only appears on these named items and above. But there's more than this, including perks that can directly buff ultimates or character specific mechanics. These might be something like extending heroic duration, targeting additional enemies with the Mjolnir for example, or even providing unique effects like providing additional crit chance with Black Widow when attacking enemies from invisibility, and there's a lot in there too that can only be found on this type of gear. And not just that, oftentimes you might find these items with only two sets of stats, which is going to make it much easier for you to control your actual build, especially so since I recommended stacking a lot of might and valor, since these seem to be the most powerful in the game right now. Well, this is going to give you the option to do just that. And maybe in the future Crystal Dynamics will even think about actual gear set bonuses, since they are actually needed in this game. Like, you should definitely feel that you are completing a set, not just by the name of it or the fact that it provides slightly different stats or different kinds of perks and combos. Again, if you want to check all of the gear sets that have been found so far, including examples, go ahead and check out the links in the description box down below. I'm also gonna pin it in the comment section, and this is going to contain it for all of the characters and the sources you can find them in. Especially like for Thor, this is the one that I'm kind of working on right now. There's like a number of sets including the Thunderer, Storm Ragers, and there's even a variant of these for the exotic quality too, but I'm gonna talk about that in just a little bit. First, let's talk about how you can find these and how to maximize your route when it comes to actually farming these. So this is what I suggest you doing if you're above 130 power level right now. I would start with the vaults, since these are the fastest. Any of the 3 vaults in the game can work just fine. They are also the shortest. It takes about 10 minutes to complete on challenge 2, and I definitely recommend completing these on challenge 2, since the only thing you're looking for here is the end reward, and you will want to complete these missions with 5-star ratings, since that is going to increase your chance to actually get a legendary and of course it is going to be a guaranteed named legendary, which is going to be the most important right here. The next ones are going to be those priority missions. We get 2 of these per week and you have a limited amount of time to actually complete them, but depending on the missions that are cycled in, these can be either longer or shorter. So for example, this week we had a couple of vaults rotated in as priority missions, so they were rather easy to complete. The legendary quality rewards at the end of them are going to be named, and it seems that these rewards only drop once per week for the first completion, no matter which character you're going to be using. It also seems that you don't always have to complete them with 5 stars like how it is for the regular vaults. So for example, I was able to get a named legendary at the end of them even with a really low score rating after doing some testing. And of course you also get those additional DNA keys and polycoron on top, so they are going to be very useful in the long run anyway. This brings us to the number 3, which are the villain sectors. They are going to unfortunately be longer than vaults and also more difficult, since yeah, usually they have a number of enemies in there that can be quite annoying, including the end boss. But the chances to give a legendary for a 5-star completion here seems to be lower and not as consistent as it is with the vault. So I'm not entirely sure if this is a bug at the moment or if this only applies to regular villain sectors like the ones that you get from the daily faction missions, because for the elite versions it doesn't actually work that way. Now of course many of you might have some bugs with these, since it seems that many don't reset, so hopefully with update 1.30 this is going to be the case, point at which I suspect it's going to work the same as vault and you will get those guaranteed legendary named ones at the end of them if you complete them with something close to 5 stars. This brings us to our final option, which are these hives, and there's an important distinction to be made because there are different types of hives and only one of them, specifically the elite heroic hives, have a chance to drop exotics as of yet. So while for the regular hives and the elite hives they only drop named legendaries, assuming that you complete them with 5 stars, but for the elite heroic ones, which are the ones with 14 rooms, they also have a chance to actually drop exotics, and these are going to be the ones that you're going to want to farm, though rest assured there's going to be additional methods in the game in the future that are going to also provide these as drops. For now, the only thing that you should know is that it's going to be more important to complete these with a 5-star rating rather than what difficulty you finish them off, because it seems that the rewards given at the end of these expeditions are going to be dependent on that star rating and your performance throughout it. And yeah, it's very likely that in the future exotics will also be granted as jobs, since this has been confirmed to work in the newly added secret lab, or should I say the futurely new added secret lab, since it was only accidentally made available yesterday and some people not only got a chance to play through it, but somebody also got a legendary exotic job from it. Nonetheless, this is it with everything you need to know about these name sets and the gear sets, so let me know down below if you also got any of these. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video at any point, don't forget to leave a like on it, subscribe and activate that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.